Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Everyday Agile YouTube channel. Now, in a bit of a change to usual proceedings, just had two fantastic guests in. I think you'll really enjoy those episodes, but unfortunately, due to circumstances outside of their control, I had two guests drop out. I put an emergency LinkedIn post up yesterday evening, as of recording this, just to go through a good old-fashioned ask me anything. Now, I've tried not to look at the questions too much other than to see if anyone was actually commenting, which thankfully people did do so. Thank you for that if you did. So I'm just going to read them and answer them to the best of my ability. So question number one. I've seen at least 5 people leave the armed forces and they enter or pursue some kind of delivery field like Agile. What's the link, or is this just mere coincidence? Sincerely, your biggest fan. Don't think you mean that, but I'll take it. It's good for the ego. I think there's a lot of overlap in terms of organization, being able to speak to people at any level. If you're leaving the armed forces, like that respect, no matter the rank, is always there. I think people in the forces do have to deliver things under pressure. Probably a different type of pressure in some scenarios, but I think there are definitely some cross-functional skills that benefit organizations. But on the flip side of that, from what I see, and there are better voices maybe to talk about this than me, but project management and especially Agile is very much flavor of the month when people are leaving the armed forces. So maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was your gas engineering certificate. It was becoming a locksmith, where now, as time has gone by, there is a definite push for project management courses and things like that when leaving the armed forces. So they're my thoughts on it. Most Agile people start with Scrum, but what's a good pathway to develop further? What are the most useful bolt-ons or approaches you've woven in? So I think he's put 3 questions on here. So I'll start with the first one. I think if you're coming from a non-technical background, you again, this is an opinion, not necessarily a fact, but having an appreciation, if you're working in the software development environment, of what the engineers are up to is always going to be appreciated. Now, what I'm not saying is you have to become a software engineer, but at least giving it a go. You know, trying to come up with some sort of way you can start writing code. Now, for me, my entry point was Swift. So iOS, basically, iOS apps, using Xcode and just trying to formulate something, trying to come up with something to try and increase my technical ability. Now, just to reiterate, I'm not saying you have to become a fully fledged software engineer, but if you're in a room of coders, software engineers, testers, designers, you know, they're going to respect you a lot more if you at least can grasp the language. The Agile job market is choppy waters at the moment. Do you think the market will get back to normal service, or are Agile and its associated roles changing? If so, what are they changing to? It is difficult out there, whether you're a contractor or a perm. I see a lot more titles in terms of delivery manager, and actually a trend towards a lot of project management jobs out there. I think these things come around in waves. Every couple of years, things seem to hit a low ebb. It is really low at the moment, and you know, it does hit people's self-confidence. I think the role needs to evolve. You may have seen the trend more towards product instead of project. Ultimately, we're all trying to do the same thing: get stuff done, deliver value to our end consumer or our end customers, and you may just have to change the language to get your foot in the door. That doesn't mean lie and manipulate people, but you have to move with the market. And once you're in an organization, you'll probably find that they've got the same problems, and you can apply your toolbox, you can apply your skills in the way you always have. But I would be using this time to brush up, on both product and projects, and start planting seeds for when the market does pick up, so you're at the forefront of recruiters and companies' minds when they need help. What's a belief that's commonly held in Agile crowds that you disagree with? Any hot takes? Probably loads, to be honest. Off the top of my head, psychological safety. I don't think that's always 100% needed in the workplace, because ultimately we need to be able to be respectful, professional, and sometimes we're not always going to feel 100% psychologically safe to be our true selves in the workplace. And I think that is okay as of today. I may change my mind, but I don't need everyone to feel 100% psychologically safe all of the time. It's just unrealistic. Yes, we need a positive environment. We want people to be authentic, but at the same time, sometimes we just need to be able to plow on, roll our sleeves up in a manner that we just get on with the job. I think there's a lot made of it by people who don't fully understand it. I'll stand by to get some grief on that one. Which Agile principle do you disagree with or you think needs changed in the modern era? I normally pose this to new Scrum Masters. I think there's a big conversation of how long the whole Agile manifesto is going to be relevant for. It was, it's great. It's a point in time. It was done in 2001, where, a lot of people entering the workplace now were either not born or very young when that document was created. That doesn't mean it's not important, but I think the whole thing may need to be changed over time to maybe fit the modern era. I think, the context of that time in terms of principles of face-to-face communication, it's just digging a bit deeper. What do we, in 2001, they probably meant face-to-face literally in the office. Well, that's changed now. So I think it's just been clearer on what those values and principles mean in 2024. Of the 4 traditional Scrum events, daily, planning, review, retro, which would you keep if you could only keep one? I've been asked this in 2 different interviews to gauge my personal values. To pick one. If I was to pick one, it'd be the sprint review, because I think that can then aid what comes next in terms of planning ahead. If I was to keep 2, I'd keep planning and the review to make sure we can plan ahead and we have a clear goal and all of that good stuff. But the review is really key for me to ensure we're using that empirical evidence, we're getting feedback from those who we want it from to make sure we're delivering things that people actually want, need, and will consume. So if I only had to pick one of the Scrum events, it would be the sprint review for me. Do you think the future of IR35 means more Agile practitioners should come together to form LLPs and split profits? Hopefully not, for Everyday Agile's sake. But on a more serious note, I think it's really difficult if this person is an Agile coach. So if you are an Agile coach, you know how difficult it is when a group of Agile coaches come together. Everyone's got a different opinion. Everyone's got a different way of doing things. So I think it can be done if people can take their egos off the table and, really use those Agile values and principles to formulate something that is going to benefit everyone. I couldn't do it personally because I've got a very clear vision and a very clear mandate of what I want to achieve. There are a few people who have come together to try and do it. And I think that, I wish them all the success in the world. But I think once you add a lot of cooks into a kitchen, it may distract them from the thing they're trying to achieve. Have you had any nice success stories coming out of your support for the veterans community? Has anyone, in brackets can remain nameless, made a good transition to Civvy Street? Thanks to Jack /Everyday Agile for the support. I don't know. I don't think so. I think when I first started posting content in 2016, probably to 2019, 2020, it was very much about supporting veterans and helping people as best as I could using my own story, which isn't that, it's not that great. I just left and transitioned into the corporate world and started writing about it. And then it's been there's better people that are out there helping veterans now. You've got things like the Gendit Network on LinkedIn. It's a group. I've probably got the numbers wrong, but it grew to 10,000 really, really quickly. I don't know. I wouldn't like to say. I think I try and support other people in the best way I can, whether they've made a successful transition thanks to me. I highly doubt it. Scenario. Quantum Leap is still on TV. Sam Beckett ends up as a Scrum Master in today's world. How would the episode go? I think I'm slightly too young for Quantum Leap, but what I do understand is it was some sort of time travel 80s show. And if he was coming from that period to now, I mean, he's probably, if it is a he, Sam Beckett, I'm assuming he probably would have a different sense of humor. He'd probably have to rein in his views on certain things, and I'd probably have to do a bit of coaching to make him a bit more PC. But I don't know enough about the show, to be honest. What's the hardest part about running a product delivery consultancy? Is it the constant disconnect between the stated goals of clients and their actual needs? Or is it the fact that you're ginger? I would actually say that's been a benefit because it makes me literally stand out from the crowd. But the hardest part is probably trying to come up with original ways to say the same thing over and over and over again to try and sell the vision, sell the services. Because of the model we've got, which is an associate model, which means people represent Everyday Agile. They are very much aligned to the values that we're trying to set up. But ultimately, most of them are freelance. So I don't have as much, and I don't mean control in a negative way, but they are all freelance. They've got other things going on, and they're never going to care as much about Everyday Agile as I do. And that's okay. What I've had to learn is they've all got their own agenda. Freelancers outside of IR35 don't really care the mechanism in which they're paid. As long as they're outside of IR35, they're pretty happy. So managing that, or managing my own expectations of what they're actually going to do in terms of plugging the business when they've got their own thing to sort about, I've had to manage that, especially over the last couple of years, and just come to accept that I'm not always going to have full control over that, and that's fine. This is one I had to deal with a lot. How do you tackle customers who ask for Agile but clearly have a project better suited to a waterfall delivery? I think you have to, at the center of it, have what they're asking for, or at the center of it, have what they want, and wrap it and wrapped around that is what they actually need. I think it's about holding up the mirror and saying, you're using all of this terminology, but the reality is you do 6 monthly releases, or you've got a project with a very fixed time, fixed budget, and fixed scope sort of set of deliverables. Turning that into sprints is just, I think someone coined the term Agile theatre. You're just overlaying the Agile sort of tracing paper over a very rigid process. And that's okay, but let's just be honest about it. That doesn't mean we can't be a bit more nimble and flexible in the way we talk and collaborate with people, but you're probably not going to get all of the benefits from capital A Agile if you've got a very traditional project. Would be my thoughts on that. I think this might be the final one. Interested in your thoughts on industrial DevOps and how to make Agile work in a complex cyber-physical design and manufacturing space? I think, I know the context of this question quite well, or relatively well. It's about prototyping. It's about starting off with a pilot team, maybe, and proving this stuff can work on a small scale, on the smaller scale, instead of rolling it out across a whole program and a whole literal manufacturing organization without really understanding what you're asking for. And it goes back to the previous question as well. Just because you're not going to get all of the benefits of capital A Agile doesn't mean you can't get the benefits of agility, like cross-partner collaboration if you're working with other companies within the same industry, trying to take that ego off the table because you're all trying to achieve the same thing at the end of the day. It does make it difficult in an organization that has certain security factors and things like that. But if you've got multiple companies trying to achieve the same thing, I think a lot of it is about not playing into politics and not playing into, selfish organizational goals. You probably save yourselves a lot of time, money, and heartache if you were to put all of that aside, set some time aside to get in the same physical location and put all of the politics aside, would be my comment on that. And I think that is it, folks. Thank you for sending those questions in. Hopefully they provided a bit of insight. Please subscribe to the channel. Got some great guests lined up. And thanks for watching.